That's rock. If you're ready to party and you're moving your body, got the bass in your soul, that's rock and roll. Put your hands in the air, wave them like you don't care. Now you're out of control, that's rock and roll. If you're ready to party and you're moving your body, got the bass in your soul, that's rock and roll. Put your hands in the air, wave them like you don't care. Now you're out of control, that's rock and roll. Rock and roll, rock and roll. Rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll, kick it. You gotta fight for your right to party. That's rock and roll. That's rock and roll. If you're ready to party and you're moving your body, got the bass in your soul, that's rock and roll. Put your hands in the air, wave them like you don't care. Now you're out of control, that's rock and roll. If you're ready to party and you're moving your body, got the bass in your soul, that's rock and roll. Put your hands in the air, wave them like you don't care. Now you're out of control, that's rock and roll. Rock and roll, 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 rock and roll. That's rock and roll. That's rock and roll. Kick it.
Yo, what's up, party people of the SFL? What do you know? I can actually talk when the music's ending, not like the other night. Glad to see everybody in the chat. Numbers are already looking good. Glad to see all the party people here with us as usual. Got a quick question. You guys give me some feedback. I really like this song. This is the same song I played on Tuesday. It talks about partying. This show is the party of the SFL. I don't know. What do you think? Should we stick with this, or should I keep mixing it up and playing different songs all the time? You guys let me know what you think. You like this intro song to be the regular thing, or should I keep mixing it up like I did for the first 48 episodes of Access Live? Speaking of which, welcome to 49. Welcome to number 49, episode 49 of Access Live. Well, I'm seeing a lot of mix-it-ups in the chat. Dig the song, Dave, but mix it up. All right, maybe I'll mix it up, and I'll throw this one back in once in a while. That'll work. I'm your host, Dave Axis. We've got a once-in-a-lifetime show. Well, I don't know if it's once in a lifetime, but it's definitely the first time we've ever done it on this show. Tonight's show is what? It's all about the M. It's all about the minor leagues tonight. The whole thing. We've got Jack and Tyler here doing the SFLm playoff recaps and the SFLm championship previews coming up on Sunday. We have guests from both Albuquerque, the Albuquerque Adams, and the Birmingham Fuel. We are going to revisit Frank's mock draft from the other night. And in addition to all of that, we have the man himself who actually runs the minor leagues for the SFL. The deputy commissioner of the SFL, Mr. Andrew Rastelli, is here with us tonight. So we've got a loaded show, and it's all about the SFLm and how great it's been. Its second season, the playoffs, the differences between season 1 and 2, the championship game coming up, the whole 9 yards. So that's what's on the docket. That's what's on the menu for the party tonight. So speaking of the party, let's check out the party people. Party people in the house. Looks like we got Freddie, we got Winkler, we got Jason France, Chris Lee, Chucky B, Wiggy 98. I think all of these names at the beginning, they sound like they should be their own rap group or something, their own hip hop group. Chucky B, Wiggy 9800, although I don't say 9800 very often anymore. Right, Jack? Let's see. We got Joey Schwinn is in the house. Fedok is here, Tyler Falk, of course, Krieg and Bob Funk, Doug Britton, Benji Matson, Bo Martin Jr., Nate Hall, along with his lovely bride, Kendra Hall. The DC is definitely in the house. I see him, the loveliest woman in the world on the entire planet. Pink Lisa's here with us as well. Looks like Nelson's in the house. I see you, Will Todd. Good to see you, bro. Charles is here. Laced Up Lacey. Good to see you, bro. Marco Swift. I hope Marco Swift is here since he's going to be on the show. Let's see. I don't want to skip over anybody. My favorite quarterback, well, your favorite quarterback is here, as always. Cregan, I'm not sure if I already said you. Albert Begin. Hey, bro, I don't know if this is the first time you've been here. Don't know if I've ever seen your name, but welcome to the show. Rapid Raccoon, as always. Love seeing that guy in here. Let's see. Who else is in here? Is that pretty much everything? I see a lot of repeat names. Oh my goodness. DPP is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Pure 2K12 is here. Good to see you, bro. Hope your life is getting a little easier with all these contracts. Chris Lee, good to see you, bro. Art Vandalay. Art, have you not been here, or have I just been missing you? Or do I just always miss you? I don't know what the deal is with that. Let me see. I think that's probably about everybody. I see AJ. Oh, I see AJ here. Oh, and the commish sneaking in at the last second. I see him too. I guess that's it. Oh, David Leathers. Jim Boo. Yeah, dude, I jacked your name up the other night. I just jacked it up again. I don't know what to tell you. What's it say? After listening to you all day, how can your wife stand your show asking for a friend? Oh, bro. Are you kidding me? She pays me to listen to me overtime, just like you do. Hey-yo. All right, I think that's about it. Oh, hackers snuck in at the very last second. All right, I think that about gets everybody in here. That's the party people. So let's go ahead and move on, and let's check out our panelists for tonight. We have panelists, we have special guests, or we have guests and we have a special guest. So first panelist for tonight, I believe I heard something about him doing a calendar or something like that. Coach Craven is back with us. Coach, what's up with the calendar I heard about?
Yeah, the demand for that has been really, really high, and everyone's going to be disappointed.
I don't think so. Bro. Our other panelist for tonight, Mr. Arizona Everything, the Hall of Famer Eddie Gage is here. Eddie, what's up, bro?
What up, Doe?
What up, Doe? How you feeling? You good?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
All right, good. Our minor league experts are both here. Mr. Tyler Falk. Tyler, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks for having me again.
Of course. And Mr. Jack Brown. Jack, what's going on with you?
Doing wonderful.
Glad to hear it. The guests that we have tonight from Albuquerque and from Birmingham, sorry, almost slipped my mind there. First, we have the defensive coordinator of the Albuquerque Adams, Mr. Ethan Kai, is here. Ethan, how you doing tonight, bro?
Doing wonderful, just chilling and relaxing.
Oh, I think we're losing you a little bit. Looks like the reception might be off a little bit. We'll get back to you in a second, though. Also from Albuquerque, their corner back from last night, who had 9 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 pass deflections. Mr. Marco Swift is in the house. Marco, what's up with you, bro? How you doing?
I am doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being on tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. And then the lone representative from Birmingham, we were going to have 2. We weren't able to close the deal on the second one. Mr. Riley Quintero, wide receiver for Birmingham. Last night's playoff game, 9 receptions, 125 yards with a touchdown and averaged nearly 14 yards per reception. What a game for you, Riley. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. You missed that I also got player of the game last night, too?
Oh, is that, I was going to plug that later, but I mean, if you want to jump on that now, that's cool. You're good. So, player of the game also, Mr. Riley Quintero. Let me see. Am I missing anybody? Did I grab everybody except for our special guest who I'm about to introduce? All right, ladies and gentlemen, he hasn't been on the show in quite a while. He's kind of a quiet guy for the most part, not in chat, but, otherwise. But the deputy commissioner of the entire SFL, the man who runs the SFLm, Mr. Andrew Rastelli, is with us tonight. Andrew, how you doing, bro?
Doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm glad you were able to do it. I appreciate it. All right, so there's your panelists, there's your guests, and there's your special guest for tonight. We're going to kick it off with Jack and Andrew recapping last night's game. I'm sorry, Jack and Tyler. So, Tyler, these games did not disappoint. I don't know how you guys are splitting these up exactly, but you guys go ahead and just run with it right now, however you want to do it, and I'll interject in between.
All right, I'll jump in first. I'll take the Salt Lake City and Albuquerque game, and in that game to start off with, we talked about the consistency of the quarterbacks on Tuesday, and they were consistent at throwing interceptions, a total of 10 combined.
Wow.
5 by each quarterback, led to a very defensive controlled ball game. A lot of good field position was had by both teams, and it really was Albuquerque who took advantage of that type of play. And so for the Adams, PJ Slaughter and company, they were able to march down the field with authority early in the game, and they just held off Salt Lake City's late charge at the end. So the Adams continue to prove me wrong when I've been making predictions, and are going to go to Phoenix, Arizona, where they'll play against the team that Jack is going to quickly describe for you here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tyler. We'll come back to you in a second for the championship game preview momentarily. Jack, what do you got on the other game?
Yeah. Well, down in the state of Alabama, there was another game, of course, between Memphis and Birmingham. And, well, to put it simply, although the score line was only 9 points, really calling it and just looking at the way the game was broken down, it felt like the spread was double that, if not more. When it came down to it, Birmingham, they once again did what they did best. They are an air raid offense through and through, and they did what they did best, throwing for over 300 yards on the night, and they also had a decent day on the ground as well with 72 rushing yards, and the majority of their touchdowns came on the ground. And, well, when it comes to the other side from Memphis, their offense was a little bit snuffed out, to say the least, only putting up 273 yards total, and they just were not able to get things going. To complicate that, Birmingham's defense came in with, I think it was about 5 sacks, on the night against OJ Bruin, and it just allowed Birmingham to be in total control of the game. There was as close as the scoreline was, it was the Birmingham Fuels victory from about middle of quarter 2 onward.
Yeah, so we have Ethan Kai with us, who's the defensive coordinator for Albuquerque. Ethan, let me bring you in here for a minute. What did you think about that Salt Lake offense? Or I'm sorry, the Memphis offense. Or no, Salt Lake. Yeah, my bad. Sorry. And how did you plan for that? I mean, they still put 20 points on you, and it was, one possession game at the end of the game.
Well, the funny thing is we forgot to put in our playbook.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was the same playbook as the last week.
Wow. Okay, so they plan all week probably based on the playbook you had last week, or at least some of that scouting, and you use the same one and you still win by 8 points. Is that what you're saying? Oh, Ethan, are you there? I think we're losing Ethan. His reception's going in and out.
No. Yeah, that's what happened.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Is that the first time that it's been publicly known that happened, or was that already released previously?
No, that was known.
Oh, okay.
This
All right.
is the first time.
Oh, wow.
We missed the deadline, and we were like, oops.
Okay. All right, so let me bring in Marco for a second. Marco, you played defense for Ethan. Were you a little surprised that you ended up playing the same defense you played the game before? Were you already prepared for that? How did that break down?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little surprising. I mean, it was just kind of it is what it is. I mean,
right.
I wasn't really prepared for the exact same defense, but I mean, those things happen, and we ended up pulling through and did what we had to do, and it worked out. That's
incredible. So, tell me about all these interceptions last night. I mean, everybody was seeing them left and right all over the place. You had 9 tackles. You got a tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, which means you probably got close to a pick. But did I read correctly that you are the all-time leader for your franchise in interceptions?
Yes, that is correct. I mean, I've been doing pretty well the majority of the season. Last night, I didn't really get much action. Got some pass deflection. I almost had a pick 6 once, but I dropped it. But right now I believe I have 5 interceptions for the season. The leader right now for the franchise.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I mean, you were still kind of busy. 9 tackles is nothing to shake a stick at. Let me bring in Riley here. So Riley, who reminded me that he was player of the game in his game, 24-13 over a Memphis team that I don't know if everybody expected them to actually be in the playoffs. What was it like playing against a team that's in their first season and had never been there before?
It was interesting coming from it at the standpoint of we've had 2 seasons, and this is my second season in the minor league.
Right.
So it was just kind of interesting. It's been weird because we have to learn a whole separate playbook.
Right. So, I've heard you say before that you feel like you've kind of been a decoy receiver for your team. But last night, 9 receptions, 125 yards, and a touchdown with player of the game. How did that make you feel? Obviously, last night you were probably on cloud 9, but now that you've had some time to digest that, are you still celebrating? Or are you looking forward and already planning for the championship game?
I was pretty excited. Yeah, I do. These last, the last few weeks, 4 weeks or so, I feel like I've been kind of a decoy, which is good. It's helping the team. We're still getting the wins and everything like that. But it was definitely good last night. But I've kind of, had the party last night. Now I got to look forward to next week and getting the championship. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Right. Speaking of that, Ethan, let me run back to you real quick. How do you prepare? I mean, it's a funny question based on what you already just said about the playbook not getting put in, but how do you prepare on a short week for the championship, getting your guys calmed down and getting ready to actually have to play for the trophy?
We just take one step at a time. It was unfortunate that we didn't get it in. We did have plays to change the playbook, but we just missed the time schedule.
Okay, so I'm guessing though that we're going to make sure that doesn't happen for Sunday because I don't know if doing the same game plan 3 weeks in a row, bro, may be a little tough, especially in a championship game. Let me bring in Tyler again. Tyler, you and Jack, let's talk about this game, this championship game coming up. Oh, I got the wrong thing in there. Oh well. Are these the two teams that you expected to play in the championship?
Well, when I was making my predictions last week, I had thought that Salt Lake would upset Albuquerque. That we all know now that isn't the case, and Albuquerque played a fine game of football. So now what needs to happen is that these two teams, the number 1 and number 2 seed, come in and give us yet another good game. It was a fantastic game in Week 9. This is a rematch of Week 9. So we're really going to see how well these teams have adjusted 1 week removed from that rematch. So it's a game that is going to be a very, very tightly contested football game, in my opinion. It's going to be fun to watch and fun to call.
Right. So I think I saw. Is it you and Eddie Gage doing it, or who's doing the game?
It is. I'm doing play-by-play, and we'll have the talented Ryan Yosef as my analyst.
Okay, awesome. So you can't talk to me too much about who you think is going to win the game, but give me who you think has the advantage in this game.
I mean, as far as quarterbacks go, it's pretty evenly matched. Both Christian Brown and PJ Slaughter are two of the best quarterbacks in the SFLm. The wide receivers, another group of wide receivers that are just as good as one another, and it's really hard to pick one or the other. We have Nate Ritters, Riley Quintero, Tucker Warner, Kyle Finnemore. Just a fantastic. All 4 of those wide receivers are a fantastic at their position. And then we have not Christian Brown, and it's not Jones. I got to get my sheet, and I should know this off the top of my hand. But the running backs, Randy Squarebush, and it's not Brown. Is it Brown? I've got to.
Is it? I think it is Christian Brown, isn't it?
Well, Christian Brown's the quarterback. I'm looking for
Right.
for the running back.
Jack Brown, you want to help
Right.
him out here real quick? Oh, Jack's not. Hey, Jack, you're
Here we
muted,
go.
bro. Hey, Cam, that's 2, I think, already. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, no, hold on. I'm checking on my end too. It feels weird that neither of us can remember this man. Douglas Brown. So yeah, Tyler, you were right. It was a Brown.
Oh, it was
Right,
close.
yeah, it's Douglas Brown. Right. So Douglas Brown, the wide receiver, or excuse me, the running back, and both Douglas Brown and Randy Squarebush are decent running backs and have had a phenomenal campaign. And then we go to the defensive side of the ball. You got Chris Grizzly on the defensive line for the Adams, and you have a fantastic line in Tom Tanner, who has done really well for himself over in Birmingham. So it's a very even matchup. Both these teams have played well throughout the season, and all the players are a fantastic crop of players. So I really, even if I were to pick, for me, this one's going to go long into the night, I think.
Okay. Well, overtime would be amazing. Jack Brown, you're not calling this game, so let me ask you: who do you think has the advantage? Who do you think is going to win? And break this game down a little bit for me.
All right. So much like Tyler said, these two teams are pretty dang evenly matched. Of course, when it comes down to who has the advantage in what specific category, honestly, these two teams have proven with the flashes on all their sides of the ball. Everything here is truly like something odd. As Tyler's mentioning, the receiving course of these two teams, some of the best in the SFLm, and arguably this is going to be a massive battle through the skies. Of course, you got Christian Brown and you got PJ Slaughter, two very good quarterbacks, and hey, they got a good set of receivers too. So I would personally expect this to be just an air show to a certain extent. And yeah, I mean, to say that there would be one advantage for either side, of course, for Birmingham, it has to be that receiving core in the offense, and for Albuquerque, I would say more so just that defensive front seven.
Okay. I'm going to bring the Jack's data information in a minute before I get to Andrew. But before I do that, Marco, let me ask you: playing for Albuquerque, being the number one seed, being able to play at home in front of your own fans, do you feel like you got a little bit of an advantage? Is it going to give you a little more hype, or do you think it's going to put a little more pressure on you guys?
I mean, a little bit of everything, to be honest. I mean, it's a great feeling. We're all pretty excited, pretty nervous at the same time, just because of the hype and the attention and everything from all the fans. And I mean, it's definitely a great feeling. But I mean, overall, I think we'll use that as kind of like a fuel, I guess you could call it.
There you
And I mean, we'll push through,
go.
do what
Okay.
we do best.
Good. Actually, as I'm reading the graphic, it looks like it's at a neutral field in Phoenix, Arizona. So it looks like the home field advantage, if you will, or the crowd advantage will be probably 50-50. Riley, if you take that out of the equation, do you feel like that kind of helps even things up for your side?
I think it might, but it's still going to be a hard game. I mean, we did just lose to them in week 9, but I think that's going to make us fight a little bit harder because we want to have a bit of revenge.
No, that's a good point. Ethan, let me bring you in one more time, real quick, before I move on to Jack's data. How do you feel about your chances on Sunday?
Feeling pretty good about it. I mean, Adam Wiseman is a really good coach and does a lot of good scouting. He's told me that he does not like scouting us, though.
Did he say why? Because you're too good?
Uh, we run a variety of plays.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, good. Well, apparently not from last week to this week. So you probably threw a whole monkey wrench in their program last week. So now you got them on their toes this week, wondering, are you going to go with the same playbook? Or are you going to mix it up? I think you're playing with people, Ethan. I don't think you forgot on purpose. I think you forgot that on purpose. I'm just saying. Um, let's check out Jack's data real quick. First thing, and Tyler, I'm going to bring you back in here for a moment. Obviously, you're going to have Albuquerque and Birmingham at 1-2. What do you think about the big drop for? Oh, I thought it was Salt Lake. No, who is it? I'm sorry,
No,
Memphis.
it's my Memphis River
It's your
Runners.
Memphis. Yeah, it's your Memphis team.
It's my Memphis River Runners. And with all honesty, it was not the result we would have wanted. I feel the team played as best we could.
Mm-hmm.
And hats off to Birmingham for taking control of that game. The drop, I feel, numbers hardly lie. I do think it is a little bit harsh from the numbers standpoint, but I understand where the numbers are going here.
Okay. So you see Albuquerque in the ELO ratings, the Jack's Data ELO ratings ranked number 1, Birmingham 2, Annapolis 3, Ottawa 4, and then Memphis, Salt Lake, Madison, Tacoma, and San Jose. If we move on to the spreads and over-unders, and I'm about to get to Coach and Eddie here in a moment to kind of put a bow on all of the stuff that we've been talking about, the game last week or last night, the championship game coming up, and then along with the ELO and the over-under information, and kind of just put that all together for us. Here we have in the playoffs, it looks like Albuquerque favored by 6 with a 65% chance to win with an over-under of only 40.5, and that seems pretty consistent with last night's games. Coach, let me bring you in first. As you've heard all the guys from their teams, Ethan, the defensive coordinator talk, and you're seeing all this data on the screen. What do you take from last night's game, and what do you think about the championship game coming up on Sunday?
Well, it's an interesting contrast in styles a little bit, isn't it? And I know they played each other before, and that was a good game. I really feel this looks like a toss-up to me. I think it's hard to beat somebody twice.
Mm-hmm.
They learn stuff about you, and they adapt to you a little bit, and it's a challenge beating somebody 2 times. And so I'm not going to go out on a limb and pick a winner because I haven't watched these guys all season. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch as much of the minors as I wanted. I pretty much just watched my team and then mostly the playoffs. But this is going to be fun. I will say that having 2 cornerbacks is a big deal. and in the minors. That's a big deal. I could see that being a deciding factor.
You think it makes it harder for other teams to plan for, or because you know which quarterback's going to play, you think it doesn't make a difference?
No, I mean I think it makes a little bit on defense. You've got a little bit of a safety net. When you're trying to scheme to protect that generic corner on one side, it just limits what you can do. And having two studs,
Right.
you can just do a few more things than you could otherwise. And I think that could really, this is the kind of situation that could make a big deal.
Right. Hey, Eddie Gage, games last night, great games. One game had just a lot of interceptions, but really good games for the most part on both ends. What did you think about the games last night, and what do you think about Sunday's championship game?
Anytime, Dave, it's playoff football. I mean, you just wonder how much, I mean, and I'm guilty of making this mistake myself of, overthinking things come playoff time because you're not sure if you should stick to what works, of what got you there, or if you should add some wrinkles in because your opponent's going to be, studying your playbook on offense and defense, and you're trying to hit them with something new. So it's always tough trying to decide what you're going to do. And I think Sioux Falls is a good example of that. When they lost to Atlanta in the playoffs in the championship game a couple of seasons ago. But so I'm not in either one of those locker rooms, so I don't know how much went into that. And I also don't know if I can believe Ethan Kai, saying he forgot to put the playbook in because A, why would he admit that? And B, so I don't know. But they were both just trying to put something on it.
Yeah, Eddie, we're starting to you're getting garbled up, bro. Your reception's getting bad.
And the head of this is just insane. I mean, not ridiculous. It's just but credit goes out to both teams. It sounded like they scouted each other well, which is how they got those turnovers. And unfortunately for them, for Salt Lake City, they couldn't capitalize. I thought if one thing for Salt Lake City, I'm not sure how high Kelsey Brown is on these mock drafts or anything like that, but I thought she made a great name for herself yesterday, and she moved up the draft board, the receiver for Salt Lake City. That she played pretty well. It's like every time they made a big play, they were calling her name. So I look for her to move up the draft board if she hasn't already. But yeah, all around great football. In Memphis, seemed like they were just outclassed by Birmingham. For whatever reason, I noticed in this game, they came out in goal line a couple of times in the middle of the field. And they kind of got, they kind of paid for it, on their end. So, but it's a learning experience for everybody. It's their first time getting there, and I'm sure that they'll do what they can to get back.
Right. And speaking of that draft board, we're hoping that Frank's going to be able to make an appearance here on the second half of the show. If not, we have his board from the other night that we're going to touch over again. And Coach and Eddie, I'm going to ask you guys about some people on that board as well. But in the meantime, let's get to our special guest. Tonight's show, it's all about the M, the minor league, the brainchild behind it, the man who runs it, the whole 9 yards, the deputy commissioner of the SFL, Mr. Andrew Rastelli. Andrew, welcome again. Glad to have you back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
So let me ask you, I want to get into some questions in a little bit about comparisons between last season and this season, what have you. But before that, let's talk about, the subject at hand. Let's talk about the playoff games last night and how you think they went.
I thought they were great. I was kind of checking them in and out. I was watching a movie with my wife for the most part, but they were I think I was more surprised by Birmingham winning. Sorry, Riley, because I just kind of felt like they were trending down for some reason. It almost seemed like all the steam they had going into the first half of the season had caught up with them, and teams were starting to figure them out. But they proved me wrong. And I think Albuquerque went in and they took care of business against a team that they should have beaten, and they did. And they looked good doing it. Yes, they did miss the playbook deadline, which was unfortunate. I set the playbook deadline at noon on Tuesday because I thought I had to go into the office yesterday, and I wanted to make sure Cam got the rosters with everything done. But then my office closed for a COVID test positive, so I ended up
no.
not going in anyway. But so sorry, Ethan. But hey, it paid off. So anyway, it was a good couple of games, and I think that honestly we're going to get the best possible game for the championship, and that's what it's all about.
Now, are these the two teams you expected to be in the championship game as the season progressed?
As the season progressed, I probably expect. I think halfway through, I figured Birmingham's legit. They're going to go, and then the second half of the season they got kind of snake bit. But then but early on, I don't know. I thought that Albuquerque looked pretty consistent, but I didn't think that they were going to make it all the way at the time. Honestly, I had no idea who was. But Albuquerque really showed up. They've just looked really good all season. A lot better than last season. Same with Birmingham. I think the progression helped every team.
Right.
But I think that they just looked really good, and they took each week in stride. They prepared very well each week, and I can tell just from putting in the playbooks that all of our playoff teams were very ready to be there. So I think the right teams won.
So interesting. Madison won the whole thing last season. They played a couple games near the end of the regular season that made me think they were actually going to sneak into the playoffs. But the interesting thing from last season to this season, all new playoff teams, right? Is that what I heard? Did somebody say that?
Yeah, all new playoff teams. I mean, Boise made it last season, and they sat out this season. So, I mean, that was kind of a given. But yeah, it was all new. Ottawa missed, Annapolis missed, and Madison missed.
So as we compare last season to this season, the biggest difference, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the progression model, right? Last season, minor league players didn't get to progress during the season. This season, they did. Do you think that's why we saw things more competitive and why we went all the way to the last game of the season before people even clinched a playoff spot?
I think it was a major player. I think because some of our coaches from last minor league season had never really coached before. I know that Jason and Albuquerque had done some, but not a whole lot by the time season one had started. Frank / Javier in Ottawa hadn't coached at all. We gave him a shot, and then he went on a 5-0 run to start the season. So he looked pretty good, and then we kind of did the same thing going into this season. Ross had never coached. Chad, who was going to take over Lexington, he had never coached, and we had Garrett, Robert Garrett, do Boise last season. He had, I don't think he had coached at that point, maybe a little bit with London, but he was more of a GM type, and we were kind of looking at GM types because we wanted people that knew the progression model and knew how to get these rookies up and going with kind of our rules and our functions to really get them going. I think it paid off, and then everyone just kind of learned the coaching as they went along, and the coaching got way better this season, and the progression really helped too.
Yeah, so coaching and progression. Speaking of that, let me bring Ethan back in just for a second. Ethan, you coached in the minor leagues last year as well, correct? Or last season, correct? Oh, where'd Ethan go? Ethan, you're muted, bro. I swear Cam's going to keep a tally on
About
me.
that?
There you go. No worries. You coached last season, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How do you feel about your personal coaching last season in the minor league versus this season? Did you see a difference?
I didn't coach this season,
Oh, I thought you said you were the defensive coordinator.
but this one I let Swole run.
You're breaking up a little bit, bro.
This one I let Josh run.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me ask you this. what Andrew said about coaching last season to this season. Did you see the difference in coaching? Did you think it made it harder for your team to prepare this season as opposed to last season?
It's definitely, we had a game plan for a lot of it, and look at how some teams were pass heavy, so we had to put in plays for pass heavy. Some were run heavy, like Ottawa, and we had to put in for and prepare for the runs. So each week we had to prepare for each.
Okay. Hey, Coach, let me grab you in here real quick too before I go back to Andrew. You coached San Jose last season. This season you were kind of an oversee coach, if you will. Talk to me and tell everybody that's listening the difference that you saw in the coaching aspects and the preparation aspects from last season to this season.
Well, you had some people that had a little bit of experience this season compared to a lot of them from last season, obviously. It's not a true apples to apples comparison, I think, because of the progression
Right.
for the course of the season. But it did look, it looked a lot more like an SFL season in a lot of regards. And I think there were some guys that had maybe some scouting experience. They knew they were going to do this, and so maybe they were, if they were scouting for their team, or at least in the coach's ear, listening, getting advice and things like that. They seemed to come in a little bit more prepared. I know last season I came in and was like, okay, how many plays? Okay, cool, let's figure that out.
Right.
I had picked up some things from Andy, and I used what I had picked up from Andy, but I think a lot of guys came in with a little better prepared. It seemed like.
Gotcha.
For sure.
Gotcha. Andrew, let me bring you back in. So you talked about the progression model. Coach just mentioned it again. How do you feel about the progression model this season? How do you think it went, and are we going to see some tweaks next season?
It went really well this season. We purposely tweaked some things in SFLm and created a rate of progression where if a player doesn't miss any progression, they put themselves in a really good spot value-wise to be effective in the SFL going into the draft. And with the owners changing the rule about the max value allowed for all rookies and getting rid of that cap at base silver, that really helps too, because now you have guys like Riley, like JQ, these guys from last season. They get to be the best possible player going in, and they should be. They shouldn't be at the same levels as other guys. So I'm glad that happened, because that really helped. So I don't really see any tweaks that we could possibly make to the SFLm progression in order to make it any more effective than it is. We planned it out pretty well so that the players are in the right spot going into the draft after one season, and if they are unfortunate enough to not get drafted and they get another season in it, then they will certainly be the best possible player in SFLm finishing out that second season, which is how it should be.
Right. So, as you're talking about progression and the draft, I know last year we had the supplemental draft that Cam loves for me to bring up all the time, where we were able to get players at higher value than the regular draft. Did that experience have anything to do with you guys changing the progression for the minor league this season and putting to the owners to the vote to take the cap off the rookies so rookies could actually play at their maximum potential?
No, to be honest, the reason we didn't have progression last season was on me, because I had never entered playbooks before, hexed rosters, and I was a one-man show. So I wanted to make sure I was getting playbooks correct and was hexing initial rosters correctly, because I was also going to be adding players throughout the season, and I wanted to make sure that was being done correctly. So it wasn't so much that we added it this season, it was that we left it out last season.
Right. Okay.
So now this season, I had the playbook thing down. I was doing them pretty well, and I had the hexing process down pretty well. So I was like, sure, let's do the progression, and it went really smooth. It's with the amount of players we have, it's actually not so bad doing it by myself. If we blow up any larger, I'm gonna probably need help.
Right. Yeah. So, have you sensed or had an idea yet of what you think the numbers are going to look like next season? Or are you still kind of doing a wait and see approach on that?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell until after the draft, because this is going to be one of those. This is going to be one of the first drafts where, well, it will be the first draft where we have so many players left over. We have about 106 players in SFLm, and we only have 75-ish spots open in the SFL at the moment. So there's going to be a lot of carryover from this season to next season. But those people that don't get drafted, they do have the opportunity to change things around about their player if they don't want to keep going where they're going, and they have obviously priority over people that show up after them to make those changes. So it'll just change how teams look going into next season, and that's fine. And it gives people a chance to pivot and try something else in order to get drafted next season.
Okay. I'm going to come right back to you, Andrew. I want to drag Eddie Gage in here for a second. Eddie, as an owner of an SFL franchise, a head coach, the whole 9 yards, do you like the new minor league system from that vantage point of these rookies being able to progress during the season and having better value to be drafted as opposed to last season?
I love it for two reasons. One, you can always check in with deputy commissioner or whoever else who is on that side of the fence to find out if they are progressing on time, because that's important on our side too. In the pros, we need our players progressing. B, I like it because, as he stated, if a guy doesn't get drafted, he can always go back to the minors and continue to build value. And it's just not fair for him to have the same value as a guy who just got there, the following season. So
Right.
I love it. I think it's a win-win for both the players and the owners.
Okay. Andrew, there was a question from Chris Lee in the chat. It says, what type of changes will the people who don't get drafted be able to do? I'm assuming he means if they go back to the minor leagues. Are they going to be able to change positions and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so players are able to change positions within the already allowed changes we offer for positions.
Right.
So like CB to like the DBs can move around.
Right.
Defensive line can move around. But if you want to move to a position that is outside of those allowed changes, like if you want to go from like cornerback to running back, you have to sacrifice 10 successful progressions and drop in value in order to make that change. You are also allowed to change your player's height at a cost of 5 of those successful progressions. And you can also change your weight beyond the normal 20 pounds for the same thing, another 5 of those successful progressions. We do this in order to allow players to move around, but reward players who stick with what they have and they don't make any changes. Then they are able to kind of stay at a higher value. Plus, people who make that change from like a defensive position to an offensive position, which we don't really allow except now for linemen. We wouldn't want someone just jumping ahead of the line, essentially being the best running back because they had been a cornerback for 20 odd weeks and the other guy was only here for 15.
Right.
So we wanted to make sure we're just trying to level the playing field for everybody, where if someone's going to jump around like that the people who were there first have the opportunity to be higher than them.
So if I go back to the minor league, I can continue, and I don't change positions, don't take any of those penalties. I can still continue to progress for a second season, but am I going to do it at the same pace, or is it different?
Yes. No, the SFLm, there is no difference. The only difference in pace is during the SFL season, they do +3 primary or +5 secondary, and then during the SFLm season, it increases to +5 primary, +8 secondary, which is the copper rate for SFL.
Right. Okay. I'm going to open it up for some questions from the crowd and from the panel in a second, Andrew. But before that, I want to ask you one other question. Do you already have in mind some changes for the SFL Minors League next season?
Not really, no.
No?
No, I'm gonna have my normal meeting with the head coaches after the conclusion of the season, kind of gauge where everybody is and where everyone's feeling. I know that Ben Jackson of Annapolis had some real life stuff come up. I'm saving his spot for now, but if it goes too long, I'm going to need a coach for Annapolis. At which point, Cam and I will have that discussion. But other than that, we're going to stick with the 9 teams we have at the moment. And the only real change will be if we get a surge of players and we need more roster spots, then we will add a team or add 2 teams, and we will figure out scheduling at a certain point, and that'll just we'll just roll with the flow at that point. Cam and I have a plan in place to deal with a surge of players coming in so that we can facilitate everybody as much as possible, but we'll need to see it before we actually make any changes.
If the numbers warrant having more than 9 teams, are any of the teams that were in it last season and didn't come back, do they have kind of like first right of refusal, or how does that going to work? Or are you going to create new teams?
So the teams that we brought on last season will be the team. Those teams are just on hold.
Okay.
If those coaches want to come back and be coaches for those teams, then they will be able to. So we will choose those, when it comes. But we're not going to bring on any different teams or any new teams at the moment. It's, Boise, Lexington, and Lincoln are going to be the teams that we would draw from first. And if for whatever reason we would need a 4th, then we would, start a new team then. But that would require a lot of people.
Right. Okay. If you have a question for Andrew in the chat, go ahead and post it. You can @ me or you can @ Winkler, and I'll ask him. In the meantime, let me ask the panel, Coach, Eddie, Gunny, any of you guys, Ethan, Marco, Riley, Tyler. I think Jack had to bug out. Do any of you guys have any questions for Andrew regarding minor league stuff or even SFL stuff at this point?
I'll
have a
jump
question
on.
for Andrew.
Go ahead, Eddie.
You go first.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think from being a minor league player and a minor league broadcaster myself, first off, I just want to say thank you to Andrew for all the work you do and all the hard work you've put in throughout this season and last season. And we're looking forward to this championship game and for future seasons of the SFLm. As far as questions, I don't think I've got any. So, Eddie, over to you.
Okay, Tyler. First of all, I'm gonna need you to stop sucking up to the commissioner. He's not on payroll.
Hey now.
Let's get it out the way. No, I'm
I'm
just
going to
kidding.
make my wife listen to this later so she knows how good of a person I am.
That's right.
See,
Apparently.
That's why I try not to let my wife actually listen, but she listens anyway.
The commissioner is writing your check right now, Tyler. No, my question for my question for him is coaches. Is there an influx of coaches who are like maybe first year coaches who are looking for a chance? And at what point do you begin to bump guys out so other guys get opportunities?
We haven't really visited that yet. The reason being is because the SFLm season is only 8 weeks long, unless you make the playoffs, and then you only get another 2 games. And then you have a 4-month off season. So even if these first-time coaches they come in, I know someone had asked me before, why don't you change the coaches out every season? Like one, well, that sucks for consistency for these SFLm guys because to be honest, the locker rooms down there, they build a pretty good camaraderie, and they really like coming from somewhere rather than coming from nowhere and just being randomly drafted. They like the fact that they came from a squad. They kind of treat it like almost like a school. If it feels like these guys really like their teams. So it's also hard to kind of upset the guys who put in all the work on those teams and help develop those locker rooms. So if we were to change it up like that, it would be a few seasons. We would let coaches stay there for a few seasons and really develop because 8 games is not long enough. 16 games is not long enough, especially with 4 months in between.
Eddie Gage, that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else on the panel before I go to the crowd? Got a question for the deputy commissioner? Man, Andrew, you must explain things really well.
I really do. Well, I do tech support for a living, so I have to, or it just makes my job harder.
Right, break it all down. All right, let me ask you this last question before we move on to Gunny and get his wisdom for tonight. Chris Lee is asking for some clarification in the chat. He says, just to verify, if a player doesn't get drafted after 2 seasons, they have to retire that player. Is that correct? And if so, how long do they have to wait to make another player?
So let's use this season for an example. They don't get drafted between December 19th and December 21st. We'll probably take 2 to 3 weeks off, essentially, just kind of resetting everything, and then they could go right in and they will claim a new position in rookie check-in.
Starting from scratch?
Starting from scratch.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Chris Lee, hopefully that answers your question. All right, Andrew, I guess we don't have any other questions for you, but I appreciate you coming on, giving us the time, answering all my questions and talking about the minor league. And I think that Season 2 has been extremely successful. The influx of players and just the excitement around it. The SFLm gen is bumping like crazy all the time. And the excitement, the buzz, everything's been great. So a lot of credit and kudos to you.
Ashley has a question.
Oh, Ashley has a question. Is it in the chat?
Of course.
Yes, sir.
I don't see it.
She's asking what's the difference between being
there you go. Yep.
DPP and deputy commissioner. In all honesty, the biggest difference is less manual labor on a consistent basis.
Poor Marcus, man.
You have to figure when I was DPP, I was doing what I currently do, plus what Marcus was doing.
Right.
Now I was doing it for far less players than Marcus is currently doing, but I was doing it all by myself. I was updating the website, I was updating the master sheet, and I was providing all the changes to Destro each and every week. And I was also helping Cam with all the kind of administrative behind-the-scenes stuff at his level as well. So what happened was I just needed help, and I brought in Ryan Michaels / Karpinski to help me out with that, and he was great. And then I left him to his own accord in an unfortunate time for him because it turned out that he was going to be moving halfway across the country around the time that he needed to be doing all these progressions. So it was like, so he had it rough too, and then he moved, and he's taken a couple seasons off now, and Marcus has stepped in and done a great job, and he's way more organized than I ever was. I was organized enough that I knew where everything was, but nobody else could. Marcus is organized to the point where someone else can look at what Marcus has and understand what's going on. Everyone else was just kind of like going to have to deal with my stuff.
Okay. Actually, I lied. I do have one more question. Ethan Kai brought it to my attention. I meant to ask it, and I almost forgot. So I'm glad he brought it to my attention. Can you give all the listeners, most of which are minor league players probably tonight anyway, and have no idea of the history of the convention and the history behind lasers?
Lasers would not be possible without the late great Ray Bentley, God rest him. So I really hope everyone understands that it really just was a two-man job. But we at the convention we had the Hall of Fame ceremony at this place called Main Event, which is kind of like, I guess, a more adult Dave and Buster's with less video games and more bowling. And they also had laser tag, and Ray challenged me to go shoot 12-year-olds in a laser tag arena, so I did. And Andy asked me during his vlog what we were doing. I said, we're going to go shoot kids. And he says, with what? And I said, with lasers. And I was like 5 beers in or something at that point. So there you have it.
And it's lived in infamy for how long? How long ago was that? Was that last convention or the one before that?
Last convention, so a year and a half-ish.
Year and a half ago. And for those of you in the chat, I think all you have to do is go in and do it. Is it exclamation mark lasers? Is that what it is in the Gen chat?
With a Z.
With a Z. So if you put an exclamation mark lasers with a Z, you'll get a pic. Is it just a picture or is it a GIF?
It's a GIF.
Of you actually saying lasers, right? So if you guys want to try that out,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I just posted it in there in
Okay.
general chat in SFL.
All right. So if you guys go to Gen Chat, and there he is, and there it is. Oh, and there's Ray. Ray's in it as well. What do you know? Awesome. All right, Andrew, thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate you answering all the questions, and congrats on all the success of the SFL Minor League.
Appreciate it, man, and congrats on the success of this show. This is great.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that too. All right, so now everybody has something to do. Exclamation mark lasers with a Z. Just blow it up. Gunny, are you still around? I know we're running a little late, but I'm assuming you're still here with me.
Yeah, Nate and Kendra woke me up.
Oh, good for them. Thank you, Nate and Kendra. Appreciate that. The halls are always waking people up, I heard. Are you ready to rock and roll? Are you good to go with your Pearls of Wisdom, Gunny?
I'm ready today.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening, SFL. First of all, I want to congratulate two of my teammates on their recent re-signings. The all-important Dave Access and Coach Craven. Welcome back to Lone Star Glory. When you find yourself not listening to Access Live rebroadcast and even listen to it live, check out other podcasters. Ashley Jackson, Arizona QB with SFL Knights. Coach Craven, Epic Esports, Coach's Corner. Nelson Lozano from the Portland Fleet. Even Kramer Jackman from the Denver Nightwings. And the upcoming new show to come out will be Tyler Falk, to be coming out in the next few weeks. I want to give a shout out to the quarterback of the Madison Lynx, Eric Price. I spoke to this gentleman today. He's a fine individual. I wish him luck in the upcoming draft. Also, Gunny has a special hello to the royal family of the SFL, the Horrells, Mr. David and Miss KT. I hope you are doing well. Good luck to Birmingham Fuel and the Albuquerque Adams on reaching it to the championship game. With that being said, I'm going with the Birmingham Fuel only because if they win, they're close by and I can meet for their victory parade in Birmingham. And with that, have a good weekend. That is all.
Awesome, Gunny. Thank you. You're going with Birmingham, huh? All right. I'm actually going to ask the panel at the end of the show. We're going to do a little who you got, and I'm going to make everybody pick and see who has the most votes. I'm pretty sure I know which way Mark O'Reilly and Ethan are going to go. But before we get to that, though, Frank the Franchise Way was not able to make it here to be with us tonight after all. But I did want to touch on his mock draft that he showed us, that he debuted on Tuesday night here on Access Live. We didn't get a chance to talk about everyone, so I kind of just wanted to point a few other things out, and I want to bring the panel in to talk about it as well. Coach, I'm going to start with you since you're at the top of the list over here. I know you were here the other night. We talked a little bit about it. One of the things we kind of ended on, I started to talk with Frank a little bit about, is how many wide receivers were on this list. But then as I was looking it over, I realized I think there's 4 teams that need quarterbacks, and if I'm not mistaken, he only has 2 going in the first round. Am I missing something where I don't think that quarterbacks is a first round, important position anymore, or what's going on there?
Well, no, I think it just depends on need. And if you're a team that needs a quarterback, there are several good prospects there, and you can get your guy in the second round, and there's somebody else. Maybe you want a high value receiver, and there's somebody that you think won't be there, but you can get a quarterback in the second round. You make that move, and so I think that's why you don't have to pull them all in the first round. And if they've got their heart set on being a first rounder, well, that's that's going to be disappointing. But I think that's all that is. It's just it's when you can get them. So
right. So somebody in the chat just said, well, 2 things. One comment, I think it was Bob Funk, said with their recent pickup, their third rounder or their third pick will be a little different now, which we know. And Frank's already in the process of updating. He told me today that he's already been updating it over the last couple of days. So I'm sure he'll be on next week to give us his latest version of this. But somebody said only 3 quarterbacks, and I could have sworn there were 4. Eddie Gage, you want to help me out with this too, and coach? So Tulsa needs a quarterback, right? Vegas, Houston, and DC. Or no, DC has a quarterback.
Houston signed E.T. King.
Oh, is that went down today?
St. Louis needs one.
Oh, and St. Louis. That was the other one. That's why I thought it was. Yeah. Okay. So I thought it was St. Louis and Houston was 4. So as of, I guess, today or yesterday, now that's only 3. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Eddie Gage. I'm seeing a lot of defenders on here. A lot of defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers. Last draft was very linebacker heavy. I would think because of that, we wouldn't be quite as heavy at the linebacker position this draft, but it's looking like we're going to be anyway, even in the first round. What do you think about that linebacker position being so important back-to-back seasons?
Dave, how many times did you guys
gosh. Hey, let me just tell you something. I know offense puts butts in the seats, pays the bills, yada yada yada, and defense wins championships. But let me tell you,
that's right.
Let me tell you, if you without selling those tickets, your franchise probably can't afford those players on defense to win those championships. How about them apples? You like apples, Eddie Gage? How about them apples?
Hey, I haven't heard that one before. That's a good one.
I just made it up off the top of my head, but thank you. But what do you think about this line? Are we just turning into a linebacker heavy league? Because I could have sworn last season it seemed like the trend was going to more 5 DB defenses.
Well, I remember season 14, I didn't predict us going heavy on fullback season 14, but we did. So, I mean, again, it's a mock draft. You just never know until it gets here. I mean, having a third linebacker would be nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. Arizona's considering it. So just got to wait and see. But, I mean, we seen Vegas go at, what was it, 4 wide receivers last season. Florida had 4 wide receivers last season.
Yeah,
so
there were probably 4 teams, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just hard to tell what teams are thinking, and we just have to wait and see how it goes.
Let me bring in.
I have a thought on that.
Yeah, Coach, go ahead.
You got a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, a couple of things. 2 of the Final 4 teams ran the crap out of the ball last season, right?
Well, you said 2 of the Final 4?
2 of the Final 4 teams ran the ball a lot.
Okay.
And I think with defenses the way they are, it's harder. We didn't see any 2,000-yard receivers last year. You go back a few years, go back a few seasons, you did. What was the difference? There were 12 contract players. Now we've got 20. Harder to throw the ball, but you've got some really good running backs out there, and I think some teams are going to come around to the idea that running the ball is actually a good thing. 3 linebackers is kind of key to stopping that. I think we're going to see a little bit of that. I think we could see a little bit of that. The other piece is there are a lot of high value linebackers in this draft. I mean, Devin King is he's nearly maxed in everything. For example, he's not even on this list. He's not terribly active in chat, and I don't think a lot of people know him. But that you're getting a heck of a linebacker with somebody like that. I think it's possible. Oh, there's another piece to this with the rule change where we can do something with generics. You can use points on them. Maybe buff your nickel back and try running with three linebackers. You know, if we could have done that last season, I think that would have changed the outcome for us in a few games. So this is, I mean, okay, I could be completely off on all of this, but I really think that we could see a little bit of a shift in how people approach offense this season.
The way they approach what? Say the last part again.
The way they approach offense, and therefore you've got to be thinking how you're going to counter that on defense.
Okay, so let me go to Tyler. Tyler, you've been around a little bit now. You got to see most of this past season, I'm guessing. Eddie brought up the fact that there were probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 teams that went 4 wide receivers last season. Coach is talking about the more successful teams running more, so needing linebackers. Last season, there were a lot of 5 and even some 6 DB teams. But as I'm looking at this, I'm looking at almost a half a dozen wide receivers in the first round. So where do you come out on all this?
It just shows that every year is different, and you can really never predict what's ever going to happen. And who knows? Maybe it's all completely, maybe teams will draft another tight end instead of going another wide receiver and try a 2 tight end look to shake things up. But if I'm going to look at this first round, I know it's a mock draft. And there's going to be a lot of things that change, and maybe half of this board will stick. But I think there's a few people on this board that got maybe snubbed or mislooked at. So I think Deuce Fennick might go a little early, more that name recognition. He might go to Lone Star instead of Maximus Blue. I think a few different wide receivers stand a chance of getting in the first round. One of them being my teammate Michael Hammer, the other being over at Birmingham, actually, Tucker Warner. If Renfro's going to go 1, I think Warner should go 2. He should go very soon after. Just the work he's done, and he's not too active in chat, but he's a solid guy all around. And then as far as defensive backs go, I think there's 3 defensive backs that I don't see on here that I think should be in the first round. Again, one of my teammates, Bernard Smith at Free Safety, should go in the first round. He's also the co-host now with Inside the League with Nelson Zazano, and he covers the minor league on that show. Evan Lacey, if you haven't heard Evan Lacey's story on Ashley Jackson's podcast, I encourage you to go check that out. He's a solid guy. His dad, Van, runs Evan's account. And I can't say nothing but good things about Evan and Van and everything that story entails, and who he is as a person. And then I've got one more, Artie Smith of not Salt Lake, Tacoma, the free safety out of Tacoma, Artie Smith. I think he should also go in the first round.
Okay, Ethan Kai, you've been in the league for a minute. You've seen the changes that Coach and Eddie and I were just talking about defensively and offensively. How do you think the league sits going into season 16 offensively, first of all? Do you think you were going to see more run heavy and get away from those 4 wide receiver sets that teams were trying last season? Or do you think more teams are going to try that? And how's that going to affect how you pick your defense?
Actually, I think I see more tight ends getting drafted again because you can use them with the run-heavy defense or offense. Excuse me.
Well, we saw a lot of 5 and 6 DB sets last season, but we still had a lot of linebackers join as well. So
yeah, but
go ahead.
Offensively, I'm thinking you're going to see the tight ends go pretty quick.
Let's see. There's tight ends on here. You got Guy Clausen's on here. And I see a handful of wide receivers, like I said before. Jason France is on here. What do you think? I think you seem to like more of the defensive side of the ball anyway. What do you think about your own corner, Marco Swift, not being on this first round, which he might move into it with it moving around or whatever, but especially after the game he had last night with the 9 tackles and the tackle for loss and the 2 pass deflections. What do you talk to us about Marco Swift and where you think he should go?
Honestly, think he'll probably go first round. Just who I have no clue. And
are you going to do your spreadsheet again this season going into the draft with all the players, the different colors and keeping track of all that stuff? I think did you already start it first of all, and are you going to be?
I have been updating the signings. So when we get the rookies drafted and all that, and they get announced, I'll be adding them to my signing sheet also.
Okay, awesome. Let me go to a couple of the rookies here that are in here. Quentin Riley, or Riley Quintero, sorry. Bro, you're listed second in the first round, the number 2 pick overall. First of all, how do you feel about that? And what do you think the expectations would be going that early?
I'm pretty excited when I was coming into the season and knowing how much progression I was going to get throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
I had that hope that I would be in the first round. And, being picked second in the first round is probably going to put a lot of weight on me to perform and just being able to help the team get wins all season.
Yeah, I agree, especially a startup team like DC, which is kind of a startup team, kind of not a startup team. But Marco, you heard what I asked Ethan. How do you feel about your performance this season? 5 interceptions, like you said. And do you feel like you're a first rounder?
Well, I mean, me, my personal opinion, I feel like I could be a first rounder. I mean, I've had a lot of people contact me and everything. I mean, but there's no telling how it could go either way. It's first round. I mean, you imagine it's going to get pretty hectic pretty fast. But, I mean, yeah, the 5 interceptions, I mean, it was a great season for me. I mean, I also have to agree with, I believe it was Tyler earlier, the R.D. Smith comment. Yeah, he, from Tacoma, the safety, he got the 6 interceptions, I believe, most in an SFLm season. I mean, he got me by 1. It was pretty good. It was pretty close, though. I mean, I had a pretty exciting season.
Yeah, I mean, the DBs look like they're really competitive, and it looks like there's a lot of good talent. I mean, like Andrew said earlier, having the minor league players progress this season has really made all the difference, and not just your value and your stock, but in the excitement of watching the game. So, all right, thank you guys for your input on that. I don't have an after dark target for our topic for tonight. I know I saw Greg Soto say something about it in there. If you guys have anything you want to talk about, throw it in there now. Otherwise, I'm going to start wrapping up this show by starting with Coach Craven and asking him, once I can pull this up here. I got to find this. There it is. SFL Championship game is this Sunday, December 13th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern on the SFL YouTube channel. Number 2 Birmingham with a 6-3 record playing Albuquerque, who was 7-2, on a neutral field in Phoenix, Arizona. Coach, Birmingham or Albuquerque, who you got?
Dave, I was listening to my iPod earlier today, and the last song I listened to was Weird Al's Albuquerque. So I'm going with Albuquerque.
Nothing but the deepest breakdown analysis here on Access Live, ladies and gentlemen.
Pure scientific sabermetrics, Moneyball stuff right here. Weird Al called it Albuquerque.
All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Rastelli, Deputy Commissioner, you run this shindig. You're kind of responsible for how things play out because of the way you set them up. Who do you got winning this game?
I also have a real good feeling about Albuquerque. I think that they've been the best team this season, at least the second half of this season going into the playoffs. They're the hot hand. So I'm going to play the hot hand and say Adams take it.
Okay. Mr. Arizona Everything, Eddie Gage. Birmingham or Albuquerque?
First of all, real quick, how in the hell is Will Todd not on that list of first round draft picks?
Oh,
I don't understand that.
Hold on. Let me pull that up again. Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Let's see. Oh, good point. Yeah, I don't see him.
Someone needs to come on now. That's ridiculous.
Well, you know what? In Frank's defense, there are a lot of great minor league people and a lot of great minor league players, and there's only 24 spots, bro.
That's true, but
I'm just saying. Okay. All right. Let me get back.
So, as far as the championship game, man, I'm gonna piss off a former Arizona Scorpion who shall remain nameless, but I'm picking Birmingham to win this game.
Why? Why Birmingham?
Because I like their offense. I mean, both teams do a couple of things defensively that I like. I mean, I won't sit there and say that I watched every game both of these teams play. I haven't, but I've seen about maybe 4 a piece, and it's just something about Birmingham's offense. I think they can walk away with this win.
Okay. Let me see. Who's next? Gunny, you still with us? Let me get your input on this. Birmingham, I think you already said earlier that you like Birmingham. Are you sticking with that?
Yes, Adam Wiseman is paying my gas fare to go to the victory parade.
All right, perfect. Got it. That's a good reason to pick them, I guess. Free gas money. Ethan, I don't have to ask you who you're picking, but let me ask you why you think you're going to win this game. Oh, Ethan, you're muted, bro. Are you there? Nope. You're unmuted, but I don't hear you. Well, while you get that together, let me move.
Me now?
Oh, there you go. Now we can.
I just muted it and unmuted again. Defense. It's all going to come down to defense.
Okay. Ethan says defense is going to carry the day for Albuquerque and a victory for them. Speaking of defense and speaking of Albuquerque, Marco, what do you think? Same reason, or do you have a different reason?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to agree. We have an amazing offense. We got some great weapons, 2 just amazing, unbelievable wide receivers, great running back, good quarterback, and everything. But I mean, I'm one of those believers as well. Just defense wins championships, and I mean, we're hungry for that championship.
Okay, there you go. Riley, same question for you, but obviously the other direction. Why do you think Birmingham's going to win?
We've been having kind of a slow second half of the season, but when we got beat by Albuquerque in week 9, it started a fire, and we've just been building it, adding more fuel to it. So we want some revenge, and our coach Wiseman, he's doing a good job and showing us what we need to do to actually win this. So I think he's been, everybody's been doing their own scouting and just giving us a good idea of what we can do to win this game.
Yeah, I actually love the revenge game angle. Anytime you have teams that played each other in the regular season meeting in the playoffs, let alone the championship game, I think it's great for the game. I think it's great for TV, and it's a great angle for it. Tyler, you're last. You got the last word on this game. I know you can't tell us who you think you're going to win. I asked you earlier who you think has the advantage and why. So just reiterate that and maybe expand on that a little bit.
So, like I said at the beginning, this game's going to be really tight and really competitive throughout the entire game. This is a game that no one in the SFL is going to want to miss, no matter who you root for. I'm not going to pick the final score, but I am going to pick when it's going to finish. We're going to see overtime in our championship game.
That's a good. I like that kind of prediction, and I love overtime. So, I mean, the more football we can watch, the better, right? So I'm completely down with that. Let me get through the. Let me just glance through the chat here real quick. Did anybody have anything they want to talk about after dark? If not,
hold on. I want to interrupt for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Seeing as Tyler is not going to pick,
Oh, you
can
want
I
to
give my pick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want Tyler's pick.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with Tyler Falk's pick in the SFLm championship game, here's Wink.
Season 2 of the SFLm championship will be brought home by the Birmingham Fuel.
And why do you think that?
As much as I think that Albuquerque outmatches Birmingham on defense, I think Wiseman's going to find a way to win. He showed, I mean, just the playbook, the play calling has shown tremendous growth from season 1 to season 2. And I think he's got a few more tricks left in the bag. And I think Birmingham win by 2 touchdowns.
Well, there you go. So I've got Tyler saying overtime. I've got Wink saying winning by 2 touchdowns. Somebody's going to be flat wrong come Sunday night. So don't forget to tune in the SFL YouTube channel Sunday, December 13th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Birmingham versus Albuquerque, the rematch for the championship. It's going to be a good one, and you're not going to want to miss it. So we'll see you there.
Weird Al is never wrong.
Weird Al is never wrong, apparently. Allegedly. We'll see if he's wrong this time. I don't see any topics for After Dark as I was looking through the chat while Wink was talking, so we're going to wrap this shindig up right now. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Love the interaction in the chat. The questions for Andrew were great. Just love you guys hanging in there and chatting and going back and forth with us. I love it every time I'm in here. Thank you to everybody who was on the show tonight. Thank you, Coach. Andrew, thank you for coming on. Eddie Gage, Gunny as always, Ethan Kai, Marco Swift, and Riley Quintero, as well as Tyler Falk and Jack Brown. Thank you, everybody. Ethan, Marco, and Riley, good luck to you on Sunday. I hope everybody gets their game plans in on time, Ethan. I do like, you know what, let me just say this real quick before I sign off. Andrew said something about, or maybe it was Andrew, or maybe it was Eddie, said he was surprised that Ethan admitted to that. I think Ethan's playing head games with Wiseman by letting that out of the box. I'm just saying, I think there's a little showmanship going on here. So we'll see how that settles things on Sunday night. So in the meantime,
Dave,
yeah.
Dave, don't sign off yet.
Okay.
I just had an epiphany and realized something.
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen! Breaking news on Access Live: Winkler has an epiphany. You will never hear breaking news like this ever again in the history of the show.
You're probably never going to want to hear it after I say it again. But the championship game,
yeah,
it's Winkler versus Eagle. It's our two alumni team.
Where's Eagle when you need him? And why didn't you guys tell me that before the show? That would have been.
It completely just like I don't know. Fucking.
Hey! We're not after. All right, hold on a second. Hold on. There you go. All right, now you can swear.
Oh my goodness! It completely fucking slipped my mind.
Oh,
and as you were talking, I'm like, oh shit. That's right.
I mean, how many times did we say Birmingham tonight? How many times did we say Albuquerque tonight? And
you know what? It wasn't my team.
Eagle.
It completely slipped my mind that Eagle in the SFLm was just so unremarkable that I just totally forgot what team he played on.
Well, I believe. Who was it? Was it Nate or no? One of the hall. Hold on. I don't know where it is, but one of the halls I think. Played for one of the teams that are playing tomorrow or playing on Sunday as well, right? I don't know if it was Kendra or Nate, but one of them has a team in here as well. I wish I should have had everybody put it up in the chat to see if any SFL players in the chat are from either one of these teams. We could have had a nice little argument. Oh, there's Kendra. She said it's me. So Kendra, who did you play for last season? I think it was Albuquerque, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Albuquerque? Okay. All right.
I think it was too. She said boo when I picked Albuquerque. So
Birmingham. Well,
when I first started this season, she was with us in the beginning of the minor league season.
Oh, that was this season. Okay, got it. And then she got picked up. That's right. Got it now. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can go back to sign off now. Wink, are we good?
yeah, we can get. I just wanted to say that Winkler's going to take down Eagle yet again. That's all.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So you heard it here. Breaking news. We always have breaking news on this show. I mean, Winkler having an epiphany, that's got to go straight to the top of the best breaking news on 49 episodes of this show. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Jason Francis. Dave said, can we be done now? That's not exactly what I said, Jason, but that's pretty funny. All right. Now we're finally going to wrap this up. Again, thank you to all the panelists for being on. Thank you to all of you for listening and putting up with our shenanigans. We'll see you all Sunday night for the SFL Minor League Championship game, and then we will see you Tuesday night, 9 p.m. right here on Twitch. So have a glorious night, have a glorious weekend, and